The president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, addressed the UN General Assembly today calling for an independent Palestinian state. Abbas joined remotely after the Trump administration denied him and his delegation travel visas, citing national security concerns. During his speech, he condemned Israel's actions in Gaza and stated that Hamas can have no governing role in a free and safe state. Now, earlier, I spoke with former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Dan Shapiro, about Abbas's remarks and the current state of peace talks in the region. Here's that conversation. The U.S. still has not called for an independent Palestinian state, as many countries have at this point. What is behind that, and how significant is U.S. collaboration with Middle Eastern leaders?
Well, the U.S. in the past has supported a two-state solution. I'm not sure that's the current policy of the Trump administration, but they didn't join Western countries like France and Canada and UK in recognizing a Palestinian state this week. I don't think those recognitions actually do very much to change the situation on the ground or advance the prospects of actually a peace. What President Trump finally did this week, after months of really delaying it, was to meet with Arab leaders and lay out some principles for how you could end this war in Gaza. For months, he said he wants to end the war, he wants to have hostages released, but he made a number of decisions that actually extended the war. And he didn't put the kind of pressure on either Israel or Arab states to pull back the military action and get Hamas to release hostages. Now, hopefully, in the meetings this week and next week with Prime Minister Netanyahu, he's on the path to do that. That is a pathway that has a chance of getting the discussion of an actual Palestinian state in the future back on the conversation. But many Israelis say, you know, if you recognize now, while hostages are still being held by Hamas, it's essentially a reward for the terrorist attacks of October 7th, and it shouldn't be delivered that way.
Ambassador, I also want to ask you about this. Earlier today, Prime Minister Netanyahu said he will denounce the leaders of the countries that have recognized an independent Palestinian state. When you talk about the impact that these sort of recognitions have, I know you said it doesn't really do much, but clearly it still captures quite a bit of attention when they do so. It
does capture attention, and I think Prime Minister Netanyahu has himself to blame to a certain extent. For 2 years of this war, and I served in the Biden administration. For much of the time I was serving, we tried to work with Israel to articulate a viable post-conflict, day-after arrangement for Gaza, to get Arab states to buy in to how would you get hostages released, Hamas removed from power, Palestinian Authority to play a role, reconstruction funding, de-radicalization. And the Israeli government is so much in the hands of the most extreme members of that administration that they've refused to articulate what that day after would look like and continue to add different elements of the military campaign. So to reach a point now where we hopefully have a president of the United States focused on the diplomacy necessary to get people on that pathway to that day after, that's how you make something positive come out of this terrible tragedy.
Ambassador Daniel Shapiro, thank you for joining us here on set. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.